Hello friends, how are you? Welcome to the Japan Study Center. Today we are going to see the chapter of geography and what is our topic today? Migration. The migration is the most important factor here. A population here on the increasing their migration. We have discussed earlier that a growth of population depend upon to birth rate, death rate and migration. That is the most important factor here. A growth of population. There are birth rate, death rate and migration. Here topic arrives there are migration here. A movement of peoples, there is a movement of people from one area to another area is called migration. You know that what is a migration? The migration here, movement of people from one area to another area is called migration. Migration can be a number of types. Migration here, number of type according to the nature of movement, and this can be divided into the permanent and temporary. There is two types of migration here: permanent migration and temporary migration. The permanent migration involves the movement of people from one place to other. Those people do not come back to the original place. There is a permanent migration. You know that, I repeat again. What is here permanent migration? The permanent migration involves movement of people from one place to other, and this do not go back to the original place. A common example of these types of migration is provided by their movement of people from rural to the urban area from permanent settlement. In case of temporary migration, the people move from one place to another for some duration and return to the original place of living. There is a short time period for the people and migration. One example of this movement is a seasonal migration. Is called seasonal migration. There is a most important example here. The migration of agricultural labor from Bihar to Punjab and Haryana during to the harvesting season is temporary migration. You know that migration of agricultural laborers from Bihar to the Punjab and Haryana during to the harvesting is a season as a temporary here. This is most important here, harvesting of the seasonal temporary migration. The migration can be on a daily basis also. The migration here daily basis also. You might have observed that a large number of people come into the cities every day in their morning from the surrounding area to work, and they all go back in the evening. This is called a daily and diurnal migration here. A daily migration here, diurnal migration here. It is seen is a mountainous region that is many people move from valley to the higher reaches of mountain. Along with there is a cattle and during summer and come back to the valley during to the winter. There is also a seasonal migration here. They seem to a mountain region that many people move from a valley to be higher reaches of mountain. Along with there is a cattle during to the summer back into the during to winter, and these people have there is a permanent home in the valley and they are moved to be higher area to the grass. There are cattle there. Then the higher reaches of the mountain become too cold. He's come back to the lower valley. The animal movement is always along some fixed route, and generally there is a grazing area are also fixed. This type of altitudinous migration is called transhumance. Is a Gaddi tribes and Himachal Pradesh is a backwardals is a Jammu and Kashmir practice types of migration. There is a most important name here has come called transhumance, and the Gaddi tribes as the Himachal Pradesh and Bhakarwala is a Jammu and Kashmir practice types of migration here. The next here, types of migration. On the basis of source of origin and destination of migrant population, the migration can be divided into four types. The here a migration here are four types. First here rural to rural and rural to the urban, and next year urban to urban, and next year urban to rural. You know that there is a easy the rural to rural and rural to urban and urban to rural and urban to urban. There is the most important migration here, 4 types. The next point is the most important here in this box. There is a notable point. Note your notebook. There is the most important here, a summary. First point here, a movement of people from one area to other is called migration. Movement of people from one area to other is called migration. And second here, migration is 2 types. There is a migration here, 2 types, temporary migration and there are permanent migration. There is also here important, or temporary is also called to daily migration. These are 2 types only, permanent and temporary, yeah, daily migration. And the seasonal movement of people along with the cattle between two area and along to fix out is called transhumance. There's an important point here. The seasonal movement of people along with there is the cattle between two area is along fixed routes is called transhumance. The next topic is the most important here, migration trends in India. The migration trend in India, there is an important point here. Out of 1.02 billion people in the countries, is 307 billion, 30% were reported as the migrant by a place of birth, and migrant place to the birth are those who is intimated is at a village town at the time of census and other than their place of birth. This proportion here 30% as reported in a 2001. Census excludings of Jammu and Kashmir is slightly is more than as what was reported in a 1991 is 27.4%. In fact, there has been steadily is increasing in the number of migrant over to the successive census. If we compare between to the 1961 and 2001, then it has been to the observed that it has increasing between 1961 and 2001 from to the 144 millions to 307 million. There is an important point here. There is 2001 from 144 billion to 307 billion. During the last 10 years, 1991 to 2001, the number of migrants excluding to Jammu and Kashmir, excluding there Jammu and Kashmir, and rose by there 32.9%. And further break of the migrants in the terms of sex and of the basis of source or degradation are given below here. There is a most important point come. Let's come to the important point. See here. In this box, there is the most important point here. India total migrant, there is a break of 2001. There is some important here. Types of migration and number of population in the million. There is a total migration male and female. There is a total migration 307. Then included as the male here are 90.4. There is a 90.4. But female here is a very exciting 216.7 female is a migration. That is amazing. And intra-districts here 181.7 and inter-districts here is a 76.8. Intrastate is a 42.3 and from awarded to 6.1. There is a most important point here and excited and very is important for female is a 216.7. Here is the migration number of billion. There is a most important point here. If we look at there is a moment of pattern, it has been observed that Maharashtra receive a largest number of migrants. There is a Maharashtra last is the largest number of migration here 7.9 billion. 7.9 millions and followed by Delhi 5.6 million and West Bengal is a 5.5 million. There is a number of Maharashtra here 7.9 million is a migration here. On the other hand, there is Uttar Pradesh followed by there is a Bihar and Rajasthan are three top contributors of out of migrants. But if we look at there are net migrations, there are difference between in the migrant and the outer migrant is a Maharashtra stand at the top of list with the 2.3 billion net migration followed by the Delhi is 1.7 billions, Gujarat is 0.68 billions and Haryana 0.67 billion. There is a most important number here. Let's now there is a profile in details. We have discussed below their age profile of the migrant and duration of the stay of the migrants. In sense use, the first one is termed as the migrant by place of birth by age and migrant by place of last residence. The first point here, migrants by age. The migrants by age, we will be see as a profile of interstate migrant and intrastate migrants. Out of the total migrant as a numberings about 258 billions who is a migrant within the state. There is important out of total migrant numberings about 258 billions who is a migrant within the state, and 17.4 are in the age group of 15 to 24 years. There are 23.2 in 25 to 34 years, and 35.6 year is a 35 to 59 years old age. Here is important of migration. In the case of interstate migrants, out of which is a 42 million, there is 18.5 in this age group of 15 to 24 years. There is a 24.7 in the age group of 25 to 34 years, and 36.1 in the 35 to 59. There is a most important year number. In the both group, in the interstate and intrastate migration, we find high proportion of the migrant are in the older and economically active age group here. The detail of the inter and intrastate migration will be discussed in the successive paragraphs here. The second here, migrants by place of last residence. This data is collected to be understand the population of migration. It is likely that after one move out of the place of birth, and one may be continued to migrate from one place to other. The study of migration by place of birth is like a studying one-time event. Data on migration by the last residence reveals is recent migration over 2 years and therefore more informative. The data on migration by the last residence is the India as per 2001 is a census, so that the total number of migrant ever to 314 million. If you look at there is a duration of stay, it has been observed that is a substantial proportion among the total migrant. 101 million out of 314 million had a migrate at least 20 years back. About 98.3 billion had a migrate over the last decades. Duration here 0 to 9 years. There is a most important duration. We will be analyze the details about their migration that took place in the last decade in the two bordered categories. The two bordered categories is important here. Intrastate and intrastate migration. Within these two bordered category, analysis will be made in the term migration by streams and by the sex. The first year, intrastate migration. Intrastate migration, there is important. The majority of the migrants belong to this category. According to 2001 census, 80.73 billion of people are intrastate migrants. Among these migrants is overwhelming as a population is a 60.5% were rural to the rural migrant, whereas the only 12.3% is a belong to be category of urban to urban migrant. And the remaining 17.6% migrant is belong to be a category of rural to the urban, and 6.5 is a belonging to the urban to rural area. The rest 3.1% is unclassified, which means that is a respondent have not mentioned any stream. Among the intrastate migration, about 70% were female. 70% is a female. This is a number is a very excited. 70% female here intrastate migration. 70% female. This high percentage was mainly due to the marriage. There is a mainly due to the marriage for 70% migration for a female, only for the marriage due. About 69 of the female migrant for a rural to rural migration, and 97% of female migrant move from one urban center to another. 13.6% is a move from rural to the urban area, only 5.6% from urban to rural area. and the rest 2.6% is unclassified. In this case of male migration is a 41.6% belong to the category of rural to the rural migrant, and 18.3% belong to the urban to is urban, and 27.1% is belong to the rural to the urban, and 8.6% were urban to rural. The major chunks of the population who move from a rural to the rural area are mainly move out in the search of employment. The next point here, intrastate migration. Intrastate migration, there is the most important migration here. In India, is intrastate migration is a limited, is a comprehension to be intrastate migration. According to 2001 census, is a 17 million people were interstate migration. 17 million people were interstate migrant. Out of this, as a 17 million people, there are 26.6% belong to the category of rural to the rural migrant, and 26.7 belong to the category of urban to urban, and 37.9 belong to the rural to urban, and 6.3% belong to the urban to rural here. The rest 2.6 is unclassified here. About half of all interstate migrants were males. Among them, 26% is a percentage move within the rural area, and 26.7% is move within the urban area, and 37.9% of migrants move from to rural to the urban area, and 6.3% from urban to rural area. There is a most important point here, interstate migration here. The next here, causes of migration. The causes of migration is the most important here. The migration is a result of an interplay of a large number of factors. Generally, factor affecting to the migration can be grouped into two categories of push and pull factor. There is the most important two category here, push and pull factors. The push factor are responsible for the making people moving from their original place of living. There is some important here. Push factor are responsible for making people move from their original place of living. The pull factor are responsible for attracting people to some particular area. The pull factor are responsible for the attracting people to some particular area. Unless both these factors are operating simultaneously, no migration of people can be possible. No migration of people can be possible. The push and pull factor include the economical, social, and political components here. A very description of this factor is given below here. In this box, there is a most important point here. The very description of this factor is given below here. The different types has a here explanation, but first of all, in this box, there is a most important point here. The migrations is the result of interplay of a number of factors, and this factor can be grouped as a push and pull factor here. The push and pull factor can be economical, social, and political in nature. Let's come to here. A factor is given here below. The first factor here, economical factor. Economical factor is the most important here. The people generally like to live in this area whereas they can make their livelihood. Thus, there would be a like to be moved away from area of poor soil, less developed means of transport, low level of industrialization, and less job opportunities. There is industrialization and less job opportunities important here, and these are the push factor. These are here push factor. Push factor is that they are a low level of industrialization, less job opportunity. There are push factor. On the other hand, the area offering to good employment as better living standard attract a large number of people, and this is a pull factor. There is a good condition of employment and better living standard attracted a large number of people. These are their pull factor. Thus, all area of fertile soil, deposit of mineral, and better mean of transportations and communication, and a higher level of development of industry and urban area, providing more means of making a living. You might have observed that is a large number of people move to the cities for Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Chennai, and from the wings are different part of country like Bihar, Odisha, Uttar Pradesh, where opportunity are less. There is a most important factor. There is a more people are moved to the Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Chennai, and where there is the country like Bihar, Odisha, Uttar Pradesh, opportunity are less. And this most important factor for which they are moved in the expected improvement in their economical condition. Many are attracted by the apparent glory of city lives with all the modern comfort and attraction. That is important. And also important in this box, there is a most important point here. The important economical pull factor causing migration are fertile soil, ability of mineral and good means of transport and communication, a high level of industrialization and urbanization and more job opportunity. That is the most important point here. And the important economical push factor are poor soil, lack of developed means of transport and communication, and low level of industrialization and urbanization and lack of job opportunity. There is a most important point here. Second factor is the most important social political factor. Social political factor here. The man is a social beings as we like to be live with the kith and kin. Generally, the people having a common religions or language or social custom like the live together. On the other hand, a person would be like to be a migrate to some other place if he is living among their people belong to be some other culture or customs. Many people are migrate to place or religious importance and migration of people to be placed like a Badrinath, Tirupati and Varanasi through the generally are temporary due to the religious factor. There is a migration of people to be placed like Badrinath, Tirupati and Varanasi through the generally temporary is due to the religious factor. The impact of this social factor is more clear and seen in the concentration of people belong to be a particular communities in one locality of urban area in a particular. Cities and villages are social as some provisions of majority community can be an important push factor if the majority community is not be tolerant to be other community. There is an important point here. The next factor is the third is a demographical factor. Demographical factor here or S is an important demographic factor. The young population is more mobile than the children and all age population. And this is because young people are mostly moved to either for a work, better opportunity for a further study. This is important here begin young people mostly move either for a work, better opportunity for a further study. Political factor related to be a government or policy are responsible for a migration. You know that there is an important point here. Political factor related to be a government policy are responsible for a migration. This factor is beginning to increasingly important in the modern time. The government can be influence their incidence rates and directions of the migration to be great extent. In some case, the minority community are discriminated against, and they are thus forced out of countries. Partition of India into the India is a Pakistan at a time of independence resulted in the large-scale migration of people between the two countries only. Here, most important point here, a people like they are live with the laws flowing to same some religious and custom. There is a first point in this box. There is important here. People like to live with those of following the same religious or customs. And second here, the presence of the minority at the hands of majority communities can be an important push factor leading to migration. There is a most important point here. The next topic is the most important here. Consequence of migration. Consequence of migration, that is the most important topic here. Consequences of migration are the diverse as the cases. The consequences are the felt in both the religions, their area of origin of migrant and the area of destinations. The area of destination and the consequence of migration can be grouped as economic, social and demographic. That is important here. The consequence of migration can be grouped as economic, social and demographic. That is the most important point. And first point here, economical consequence. There is an important point here, economical consequence. Among the economical consequence, the effect on the source population ratio is most significant. This ratio undergoes to change in both the area involved. The source population ratio may be such in an area which is meant to be called either underpopulated or overpopulated or adequately populated or optimum populated. The condition of an underpopulation means a condition of too low an population to allow to development and utilization of its resource. On the other hand, overpopulation is a condition when the pressure of population on resource is very high and generally results in a low standard of living. Low standard of living is important. A country having enough number of people to be enable development and utilization of its resource without lowering their quality of life is called adequately populated. If the people are moving from an area of overpopulation to an area of underpopulation, the result is in the direction of balancing the resource population ratio. The resource population ratio here. On the other hand, if the migration is the form of an area of underpopulation to over a populated to adequately is a populated, the consequence may be a harmful to be both the area. That is important. The migration affect the occupational structure of population is both the religious as generally the population of working population in a source area is lower and the same is the proportions in the receiving area is increased. Thus the population of the receive area tend to become a more productivity and the source area is a result in increasing the dependency ratio by the reducing the proportion of the working people in the population. One of the serious consequences of migrants is a brain drain. Brain drain is the most important point here. There are serious consequences of migration, a brain drain. This refers to the migration of the skilled person from a poor is a country to be a development country is in a search of better economical opportunity. An example can be a migrant of the doctor and engineer etc. from India is to be USA and UK as Canada. This type of migration does not be alter a resource population ratio as significantly as the number of people involved in the migration are not very large. However, the equality of human resource in the resource design is suffer as a lot. The resource of source is designed, which is generally is a poorly countries cannot be a development fully because of a high size of population. There is an important point here. The next point here, social consequence. Social consequence is important here. The migration involves interaction of different culture. Migration involves interaction of different cultures. The receiving area is mind received through there is a migration people are belonging to different culture and this mind lead to be a cultural enhancement. India is a country which receive a migrant belonging to a different culture groups and the modern culture of India is a result of this intermixing of different cultures. Sometimes people are coming together having a different culture might result in the cultural is a conflict also. There is a most important point here. The many migrant mainly male are member. Mainly a migrants are mainly a male member. Those who stay along with the city involved in their extramarital or unsafe sexual practice. Some of them start talking or drugs through the infected syringe. Due to this is an unsafe practice, many of them got HIV infected. But this does not be a stop here. When the people go back their home, and infecting their spouses, HIV is also transmitted to the unborn child. And why this is happen? Due to lack of awareness, due to unsafe practice, and is a causes about the sex and experimentation with the drug and alcohol. Important point in this box, there is the most important point, not a point this in the copy. The migration may be a generally result in the culture encouragement in the received area, though there at time it may be also lead to be culture context. The source population ratio is the both source resign and the receive. Resign is the alerted through the migration. And the next year, brain drain is also serious consequence of migration. The next point is important is the third point, demographic consequence here. There is an important point, demographic consequence. Due to migration, there are characteristics of population in both the religions undergoes to change not only the age and the sex structure of the population but also the rate of growth of population is alternated. Generally, the proportion of the all children and females is increasing in the source area due to the migration. On the other hand, there is a proportion of this person in the population of the receive area is a generally. So this is one of the reason of the high sex ratio in a source area of low sex ratio in the receiving area. This happened because it is a youthful male population which is mostly involved in a migration. Thus, not only the number of people but also the structure of population is a both reason involved in a migration in a change, and this result is a change in the rate of fertility, mortality, and consequently in the growth of population. The source of resign are developed of the youthful population, and this result in a lower rate of births and comparatively low rate of growth. On the inverse, is impact is observed in the case of population structure of this received area. There is a most important point here. The next is the most important point in this box. The position of the children is women and all people become more in their source area of the migration, and this proportion are lower in the receiving area. This result in a change of age and sex structure and the growth rate of population of both source and receive resigns. There is the most important point here.